Okay, so hi, I'm Michelle, and encouraged by a discussion and some videos by Venerable Jayantha, who also documented his desire to uh, leave the home life and move into the homeless life, who is now about to ordain as a bhikkhuni, not a bhikkhuni, a bhikkhu. That would be, yeah, as a bhikkhu. Anyway, I decided I might try and make some videos about my own journey. So, yeah, this is where we get started. I've been a Buddhist for maybe 8 years. Well, I started listening to Dhamma talks with the idea of being more peaceful. Well, originally I was sent a link to Zencast online, and with how to meditate kind of MP3s on their podcast, and the meditation actually didn't grab me straight away. I was like, oh, this is too I don't know. Yeah, I think when people get into when they sit down to meditate, sometimes they can be discouraged if they don't like what they see on the inside. So maybe I think it was a little bit of that. But I really did like listening to Gil's talks on the Dharma, and they really resonated with me. And it was like, well, this is kind of how I already live. I'd kind of, I remember, distinct points like when I was maybe 13, and I kind of went, well, I can't really eat meat and things like that. I know Buddhists aren't always vegetarian, but this was something that occurred to me, was that, there isn't that much difference between us all, so harming other living beings was hard, because I wouldn't want to harm a person, so harming animals and things like that. So I was actually vegetarian for 10 years, and then through other circumstances moved away from that and moved back to it. And then I remember when I was about 14 and, or 15 or something like that, and at school, there was all this bitching and moaning and stuff like that. And, all the kinds of things, I guess, that normal teenagers have going on. And I was watching, friends get really hurt, and people who were friends with each other tear each other apart. And I'm thinking, wow, I just resolved right then and there to never kind of use divisive speech and speech that would, to ever talk behind anyone's back and those kind of things. And slowly kind of the 5 precepts just kind of started to be very, natural decisions in my life. I mean, they were things that I kind of remember the actual point, right, even to this day, where I pick them up and stuff like that. But where I made a decision for each of those things. But I think I've always kind of lived in line with that kind of with those values and things like that. And so I've mainly kind of followed internet Buddhism as well. So I think doing this video log, if it keeps going, will be my way to give back to the internet, because for a long time here in Adelaide, which is where I am in South Australia, there has not been Theravadan Buddhism, at least in English. So I've really drawn on teachings from people like Gil from IMS, originally with Zencast, and then one day when I was listening to Zencast, and Ajahn Brahm podcast came on, and I remember where I was just standing still. I just stopped still, and I was like, wow, this guy's here in Australia and he's amazing. And he's funny, and he speaks the Dhamma from the heart, and all those things. And it grabbed me straight away, and I was hooked. I think a lot of people say that about Ajahn Brahm, but I was really hooked, and yeah, about the same time I was really actually starting to get into meditation, and yeah, within weeks of, well, within days of really getting into my meditation, I remember going out, and it was a Friday night in the middle of summer, and we were going out to, I don't know, see a movie or something like that, and I had a glass of white wine, and I was sitting out there in the sun, and it was very nice, and I was thinking, wow, this is really nice. I don't want to ruin this by finishing this glass of wine, and so there we go. That was pretty much the time I gave up drinking, because I wanted to keep that clear mind. I'd been doing a lot of meditating that week and seeing some progress in my meditation and stuff like that. So, you know, this was many years ago, but these are little things that kind of stand out in my mind. Anyway, so yes, a lot of internet Buddhism, listening to, you know, Dharma talks from Buddhist Society Western Australia, listening to Bhante Sujato, listening to, you know, Ajahn Brahmali and all the sutta classes and things like that, and then more recently kind of actually joining in the live chats and stuff like that BSWA run. And then, you know, through this, you know, through the sutta classes and things like that, I really took up reading the actual suttas, and that's when everything kind of changed in my mind, I guess. I was just, you know, this is a really real thing that that had really struck me, I guess. And at that point I started thinking that maybe one day I would like to take robes. So, you know, it's not a decision that you make overnight and stuff like that. So, you know, I kept just going along the path as a layperson, and kind of, you know, I got this. The more suttas I read and different talks I listened to and stuff like that, I kind of had this, I don't know, the kind of the sense of urgency arose, but it's not like I need to take robes now. It was like, I need to do this in this lifetime. And so I started, I guess, investigating opportunities to go on retreat and things like that. And I was like, yeah, I was starting to really look into this. And then, I guess through great fortune, something popped up in my Facebook feed saying that a small shrine room was opening up maybe 15 minutes from where I was living. And so I kind of, you know, marked it in my calendar and counted down the days, and you know, I was really looking forward to actually having some real life community around me. And so I met Ayasatachari, who was a seminary at the time, and we've been practicing there with a little group of people, and it's been an absolute blessing. For, you know, that was at the beginning of this year, so, you know, this all seems quite quick, but it's been a gradual thing, and that was wonderful. And, you know, I took off and did a short retreat over at Jayantha Grove as well, in Western Australia, with Ajahn Api and Apichato. And instantly I was, yeah, as soon as I drove down that driveway, the whole world just disappeared, and it was just the most wonderful experience. And I didn't want to leave. And I remember just going, you know, after one of my meditations, just being like, this is it. So, you know, all these things kind of have added up, and then you know, a few times I've been with Aya up to over to the local Sri Lankan temple there. We have some wonderful, lovely Sri Lankan bhikkhus there, and they started. Oh, I had one of them for house dana at our place as well, and you know, Bhante Sameda, he started saying, oh, after we were talking, you should become a nun. And I was like, yeah, yes, Bhante, one day, yes, it's something I would definitely like. And he kept, and yeah, every time I saw him, you should become a nun. We need more nuns. And I was like, yes. And then yes, I need more time to just practice as a layperson and things like that. And then about a month and a half ago, we had Aya Naroda come and visit from Santi, and she was here as a Charini for Maya Santachari, who just recently took her Upasampada, her Bhikkhuni ordination, and she was here, and we went up to visit the Sri Lankan bhikkhus again. And look, you know, I was really, really thinking about this at this point. This was something, you know, something that was very much on my mind. And we went up there and talking to the bhikkhus, and both of them started quizzing me, and then at different points, you know, well, they really did emphasise the urgency of this. They were like, well, you don't know about this in another lifetime, and you don't know what's going to happen, and you don't know how you die, you know how you'd be reborn, and all of those things really, really struck me, actually. It was quite confronting, but in a good way. And so yes, I was really knocked off my feet a bit by that, and so that night I went home and I thought about it some more, and then watched some sutta classes that I'd watched earlier in the year that had kind of really got me thinking. And you know, I'd asked a question of Ajahn Brahmali at the time on one of the sutta classes that I kind of wanted to go back and watch again, and things like that. And then the next night, I went out to meet up with some friends for dinner, and I was signing, because it's so hard to get into Ajahn Brahm's retreats. I was like, you just have to wait a second, I just need to sign up for this retreat, because I was refreshing my phone every 5 minutes, just to see, you know, as soon as the registration, it was like bidding on eBay, but to get on a retreat with Ajahn Brahm. And when I looked up from my phone when I was finished, my friend Nicola, who has been down to Dakina Dhammatala, our shrine room, for Vesak and a few other meditation sittings. She's not a Buddhist, but she looked at me and she said, you're going to become a nun, aren't you? And I just went, and I stopped for a second, and I was like, well, I don't think I can answer this any other way. So I said yes. And that was kind of it. So I went home, and I spoke to my husband, And well, he was quite devastated, I guess, because, well, I don't know how much, I might not talk about too much about that, but, you know, it was a hard thing. So, yeah, it was definitely the right decision, because, you know, through especially that last year, you know, I wasn't living a normal life. I wasn't someone who was interested in travel or normal kind of relationships with your husband. Food really lost its drive, for me. Going out to see live music, all these things that had been so much a part of our relationship. You know, he's not a Buddhist. He's a very nice, very lovely, very wonderful, skeptical person, who likes music and alcohol and food and travel and all the normal things. Look, these are normal things that people like. The things that people get their pleasures from. So, I didn't want to be holding these pleasures back from him, because this was his life too. So I guess this was, a part of the decision. Well, it was a big part of the decision to step away from the relationship and hope that he would find happiness and be able to live a normal life and stuff like that. So that was hard, but also a very important thing to do, and it was a decision I definitely made out of compassion for him. So you have to excuse me, I've got allergies, and also this is a hard thing to talk about. So yes, and so I had this conversation, and I was going to say I made this decision, but I had this conversation, and this was the outcome, and it's hard. I have, I've lived that life with him for 17 years, and I've got two beautiful dogs. And miss them a lot. So, a week after that, I went and spoke to, the next day I went and spoke to Aya. I sent a shari, and I took 8 precepts, which has been wonderful and really helped me in this journey, in this transition, even though I'm definitely still a lay person at this point. I think the extra precepts, the extra sila has really kind of protected me. I think this is the wonderful thing with sila. And yes, so and we had a wonderful group dana with our Buddhist Society committee the next day, and I felt this great support from all the people around me, and I do have this incredible support network, and wonderful friends in the Dhamma and in the lay life. And I think without all of that, I don't think the decision would have been made at that point in time to make that next step. And so from there, I've for the last month, I've been kind of living the quote-unquote homeless life, because I left the house that we own in McLaren Vale, and have been living off of the generosity of friends, really. staying at a friend's place up in the bush where there was no phone coverage or internet coverage, and that was great for the first few days, just to get a clear head and stuff like that. But in reality, as nice as living in the bush sounded, I still run my own business, so that was a little bit difficult, but it was nice to use that as a way to step away. So I did that, and then I actually went back to my house in McLaren Vale while my husband went away for work, and spent the week there working and with my dogs, which was it was nice to be with the dogs. It was strange to be in the house again. But it was nice and quiet, mostly. And then, I can't even think where I lived next. How strange is that? I don't even know. I lived somewhere. And then I went off to Perth. Well, I came and I was chatting with my friend Julie and broke the news, and she was wonderful about it. She had, tears of happiness for me, and she's not a Buddhist, so yeah. And she said that I could stay here, which is where I am now for the next little bit. Now I'm really struggling to figure out where I stayed before that. I don't know. So she offered me her place because she's away at the moment in Brisbane for work, and then I had to go to Perth for a work commitment. As strange as it sounds, I was heavily involved in natural bodybuilding, and it was actually a big part of my journey to get where I am. Not the middle way, but some of the mind training that I took up through that and stuff has really influenced where I am. So I went away to Perth, and it was a wonderful thing to be able to go, because it happened to be the same weekend that Ayya Santachari was doing the second half of her bhikkhuni ordination, the confirmation with the bhikkhus. So I was able to go to that, and it was wonderful. And there were so many bhikkhunis there, and seminaries, and it felt like coming home. It was wonderful. And Ajahn Brahm was there, so that was amazing. So that was one part of that weekend, and the other part of the weekend was staying with all these people. And I'd been very much living on my own in a very quiet way for the last month, keeping my 8 precepts and working on my business, and then I was surrounded by these normal people. So that was a challenge, because there were people who were getting angry and frustrated very much, and swearing and not using wholesome speech, and drinking, and normal things that people do, I guess. And I realised how much I was not part of this world already. I'd kind of stepped away from this, and I could see the suffering in it, and even in music and things like that, which I was, I've been very much into in the past. And luckily I had my own room, and I was able to withdraw from that, and go and listen to some Dharma talks and meditate and things like that. And these people I'm friends with, they're nice people, they're good people. So that was definitely, it was noticed. And now I've come back to Adelaide, and I'm still finishing up little bits of work, and I've very much been running around trying to organise another one of these bodybuilding events this week, and it's taken a lot more of my time, but I want to be able to do it properly. And you know, this is something that's been been part of the process is making sure that I don't just throw my hands up in the air and leave clients and commitments and things like that. I very much want to make sure that I leave my clients and everyone in the best possible hands. And I've had some very lovely clients who have said some wonderful things to me about the services I've provided and things like that. So yeah, that it's been hard. It really is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But when I look at it and I ask myself, you know, yeah, Venerable Jayantha, he said the same thing on his video. If I could have the best lay life ever with everything, or I could be taking robes, which would it be? And it would definitely be the robes. It would be the monastic life at this point. And you know, this might change, but right now, this is what my heart says definitely. You know, I would not have felt that way when the bhikkhus spoke to me about this, if it wasn't something, you know, I'd been thinking for a long time, I guess, that you know, if all of a sudden I found out that in a year's time I was to be struck down by lightning, what would I do? And that was, well, you know, before Ayasantachari came along, I guess that was, well, I would try and go and stay at Dhammasara. I would try and live the monastic life for a year. And so this is what I'm going to do. So many of the bhikkhunis have had a chat about me. And, you know, it has been decided that I should live for 3 months as a layperson within some of the different monastic communities around Australia. So, and then if I find that suits me and they believe that I'm appropriate, then I would take Anagarika ordination, maybe in January. And then if I feel it's right and I still want to keep going, and if they feel it's right and the right time and stuff, then I would take novice ordination after that, and spend maybe a year as a novice, we see, and then bhikkhuni ordination. So So anyway, in a few weeks' time, I'll be going off on retreat for a 9-day retreat with Ajahn Brahm, and when I get back, hopefully, we will have raised enough money for a kuti here at Dekina Dhammathala, which is our little house temple in Christie's Beach, and I will then be able to live there and assist Ayasantachari with day-to-day stuff around the Vihara there, and also help look after her mother who lives there. And I'm really looking forward to that, and having my own kuti and being able to serve there and all that stuff. So I guess that's where I'm up to. So I'll be there for a month in between 2 Ajahn Brahm retreats. So the first retreat is one that's organised by Bodhinyana Singapore, and then the second retreat will be the one that I booked into at the beginning of this rather long story. So I'm really looking forward to both those retreats at Jana Grove and with Ajahn Brahm. And I guess this is where we're at, and then we will I guess set a date for my Anagarika ordination, and it's all very exciting, and I'm going to leave it there. I think that's enough for this video as well. Exactly half an hour now, and I need to get moving. So May you be happy, may you be peaceful, and may you realise Nirvana very soon. Kia atu.